What's going on, Warriors? Welcome back to another episode of EU4 for Noobs. And in this episode, if I remember right, we were going to talk about centers of Reformation. I could be wrong about that, and we may have already talked about that, but we're going to see what we can do to kind of clean up the things that we have not yet talked about, perhaps upgrading centers of trade, which we may actually be able to do in this episode. But I just wanted to say that if you're enjoying the series, if you're getting help from the series, then please feel free to leave a like, subscribe, and join the Discord server, because that helps out so much. Also, thank you so much to Shem for being my Patreon supporter, and if you'd like to support me on Patreon to support me getting a new computer, which will allow me to make more videos of Insurgency and other games with fantastic graphics, then please feel free to click the links down in the description below. That being said, we are watching the Ottomans kind of getting wrecked. They're at war. Well, they're at war with a bunch of small states, and honestly, I think they could probably take them. I'm not really sure why they're not winning this more, but oh. Okay, so remember that whole institutions thing that we've talked about already? That system in the game for technology where it will spawn in a certain place and it will spread out from there, and if you have not embraced it, then you will get a ticking tech penalty. Well, the next one after Renaissance is colonialism, and it just spawned in Asturias. And so, that's awesome. Okay, so the discovery of the New World has heralded a new era, not only for the colonizers and the colonized. Not only for the colonizers and the colonized. This led to a spread of materials and techniques, as well as a realization of the vast size of the globe. Animals, crop types, silver, and diseases spread across the Atlantic. The first steps have been taken towards a truly global economy, as foreign lands and people are mapped and documented. Ideas as well as religious and philosophical debate has become more and more colored by what we have found in overseas societies. Great minds feel the need to question what was once truth, and from Valladolid to Fatehpur Sikri, the nature of the world is now up for debate. Alright, so we gain 100 of each power. Now, we do actually need to spend a tiny bit of military power on development just to make sure we don't go over the cap, because we cannot go over the cap, so it'll just be wasted. Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. Alright, we also need to reform our government after this, because we're going to gain some, and we're going to gain 20 prestige as well. And Asturias gets major colonial port, which is trade power plus 5. Boom. Well, that's awesome. So now we could actually take this, take these technologies, but I don't want to yet because we're ahead of time. We can reform our government. So we could get meritocratic for the burghers and advisor cost reduction. We could get nobles of the robe and get leader cost reduction for the nobles, or administrative. And we could get, free administrative policies. Well, that actually might be kind of cool. Although advisor costs would be tempting, especially because we do have an advisor. I think I'm going to go with the advisor's cost. Alright. So, yes, now we could take some of these ideas, but I'm not quite ready. I don't really want to take them. I want to take the technologies first. And I also need to actually level up development, which I will do. I will level up development. Now, by the way, guys, the Golden Century is now out, and I don't have it. I haven't updated my game just because I want to continue playing on this for a little while. I'm going to now do my best to explain centers of Reformation. We do have a couple of them now. And you may see on the religious map mode, if you look over here, you see Catholic. You know, Catholic has a huge portion of Europe here, but There are little sprinkles of blue and yellow striped blue. And we're actually going to talk about what that actually means, okay? So, basically, a center of Reformation, and there can only be 3 of Protestants, and I believe 3 of Reformed as well. Probably to your ruler and possible heirs. Yeah. Yeah, we don't get a Reformation. Yeah, a religion can only have 3 centers of Reformation. All right, so Protestant is actually a whole different religion. And the first 3 countries to switch to Protestantism will get this center of Reformation. And that actually is helpful for if you have kind of a bigger country, because what they do is they automatically convert land around them. So let's just take a look at this. Aachen is a Protestant center of Reformation. Nearby provinces will gradually be converted to Protestant as long as it is there. And as long as it is here and there are provinces it can spread to. Okay? So you cannot convert it away because, first of all, it's religious center, which reduces the missionary strength by 5%, but also it's completely impossible to convert for a certain amount of minimum time just because of the religious zeal that it gets at the beginning. And then it will convert provinces over time. So it says this, the religion in Magdeburg is being converted to Protestant by a nearby Protestant Reformation. So that is how provinces of your own country can actually switch religion without your consent. That's basically the only way that can happen in the game, except for some fringe cases like Confucianism has this thing where some provinces can randomly switch to Buddhism or something like that, but it doesn't even matter if you have them harmonized. Okay. Yes, so there was another thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, and I've improved the siege of my general here. Golden Era in France, they're taking advantage of it because they have 3 goals in the Age of Discovery, and the Age of Discovery is ending in 54 months. Oh yeah, oh that's right. Okay, so I wanted to talk about upgrading trade posts, or trade harbors, centers of trade is what I will call them. So basically, there are 3 levels of trade posts. You've got level 1, which is Emporium or Natural Harbor, okay? And it depends on what they actually are. If they're inland, they're Emporiums, and if they're coastal, then they're Natural Harbors. Then you've got level 2, which is Entrepot, or inland ones are called Market Towns, okay? And those, actually, they have the same exact effects, they're just oh no, they're not. They don't have the exact same effects because the Entrepot actually has institution spread plus 10%, whereas Market Town does not. Okay, but then lastly we have level 3, and I know where a coastal level 3 is, but the coastal level 3 is called Worldport. Yes, and so it gives in that. It's really cool actually. If you have a Worldport, then first of all, to that specific province, okay, no, that's, here's that. But if you have a Worldport to that specific province, it gives a 25 trade power and plus 30% institution spread. But then for that entire area, so in this case it's Genoa, is the Liguria region, so it's these 3 provinces, it also gives you minus 10% development cost, double the sailors, and plus 1 possible building. And then, if you own it, it also gives you a global modifier to your entire country. And that, in this case, is Yearling Navy Tradition Decay, minus 0.2%. And you can have multiple world ports, and that's why the modifier is so small for the entire country. It's called a World Trade Center if it's inland, but I don't believe there are any World Trade Centers in the game at the start of the game. I could be wrong about that, but I can't think of any right off the bat. Now you can actually upgrade these. So if you want to upgrade it, then what you do is you go to the province view and then you click on the buildings tab, And then you can click on this icon here, and it will show you the modifiers that it will do. Now, upgrading from level 1 to level 2 is 200 ducats, but from level 2 to level 3 is actually 1,000 ducats. And so we cannot actually do that to our level 3s. But we will see what we can do about upgrading them as time goes on. Okay, so we need to explore some more. And now, this series is probably going to be kind of approaching its end because, oh yeah, we're kind of close to integrating Aragon, just 15 more years. Because I've basically gone over almost everything in the game. The only things that are left to go over are different religion mechanics, which we can't really cover as Castile. What else is there to even go over? We fulfilled a mission here. Oh, it's high income, so we get construction costs and construction time. That's fine. Build buildings. So now we can build churches and workshops, and that will allow us to get the 50 admin power. Oh. Well, do we take this at a time? I don't think we do. I think we just develop. Just do our, yeah, production income. And at the beginning of the game, by the way, I just wanted to talk about how these, like, the flow of the game. Same thing with how the military shifts at different points in the game. It is also the case that the economy of the world will shift throughout the game. And as time goes on, economies will do kind of like different different things. Like in the beginning of the game, the majority of your income is going to come from taxation. And the best buildings are to build are going to be the taxation buildings. Also, the price of fish goes down because Protestantism has become entrenched and people are giving it up less for Lent and stuff like that. So people eat more fish, I guess. I don't know. It has something to do with Lent. Anyway, so you could build churches, and that will give you the most amount of money, whereas the production buildings won't give you as much. However, as the game goes on, more and more you will see that it actually flips. And it actually goes the other way, where then production ends up being extremely valuable, and taxation is not so much. Can I actually build a manufactory? There is a manufactory that you can build here, but I cannot build it because I need money. Manufactories just straight up increase local goods produced by 1, and it looks like that's not a big modifier or something like that, but if you look at our capital, it's actually goods produced plus, or it's goods produced 1.46, so if we had a manufactory there, then it would actually change to 2.46, which is insanely huge. I mean, it's like a 66% increase in the production income from that province. So, because remember, the production income is based on your trade value. Okay, trade value is value of trade goods times your goods produced. So you're multiplying it, instead of multiplying it by 1.46, you're multiplying it by 2.46. And then it's your trade value plus your production efficiency. So it's a very complicated formula for production income, but I like the way that they do it because it allows the economy to shift throughout the game. It's very, very good, I think. Okay, so we are going to do that. Oh, another feature that you can actually do, and I haven't talked about this yet, but I should not neglect it, is we should talk about exploitation of development, okay? You can actually exploit development and lower the development of your province when you're in a bind, and it will actually help you in certain ways. So if you are extremely low on money, you can actually exploit the base tax. And let's see here. Let's look at Toledo, okay? And it's this little minus button here. But 7 base tax I think it's probably taxation efficiency. It has to do with taxation efficiency or something like that. It doesn't actually tell me where it gets that number. You can get the most money from that. But yeah, so you could just lower the development by 1, you know, lower the base tax by 1, then you get 53 ducats, just like, you know. So it is sort of, in a way, it is sort of like a way to trade in your monarch points for money, which I actually did not think of before now. But yeah, you can, because you can spend admin power raising your base tax in a province, and then you can just exploit it, and then you get that in the form of money. So actually, it's sort of like a way to convert power, which I didn't even notice. I don't know what kind of limitations there are on it because I've never used the feature, and it's not really a feature I look at very often because overall, when you exploit your development, it's gotta be a measure of last resort, because when you do it, it's going to benefit you in the short term, but it's going to destroy you in the long term if you continue to use it. So let's take a look at the institutions, by the way. Colonialism is here, and it looks like it's most present in Leon. So we will actually go with this this institution spread, and we're gonna see how fast we can get it to spread here. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, spread modifier. What can we also increase? We could do, well, positive stability, we already have 3. Peace is plus 10%. Advancement effort, we already did it, part of a state. We can't actually increase it by anything more at this point. Just gotta kind of wait. Okay, we're now actually only 2 years ahead of time. I'm just gonna go ahead and take these techs. We're gonna be kind of ahead of time, but I think it's going to be worth it overall. We get increased colonial range and all that. And then we can eventually take these ideas and I won't feel bad about it at all. Like, this is an extra colonist. Okay, so we can actually now have 3 colonists, and you may have noticed that now I have 2 out of 3 here that are free. And the reason is I got this idea, but then also I got Intercetera, or Intercaetera, whatever, how it's pronounced. And that also gives me +1. So I now have the possibility of having 3 colonies, and I can't afford that much, but I could make another colony. I could at least make 1 more. And Borican is actually 10 development, so I think we're going to go with that. That's Puerto Rico. Port Richard. Okay, we've got a small army there, we've got a small army there, and I'm actually going to send some guys over to Puerto Rico. And we've also got to explore here. We can now explore more because we got more colonial range in that tech. Also, yes, okay, so types of units. So, way back before institutions, this tech group used to actually mean a lot more. This says Western. Technology group is Western. If you go to Yolof or Jolof, it says West African. If you go to Morocco, it's Muslim. The Ottomans is Anatolian. You've got Muscovy is Eastern. Okay, and that used to dictate your tech cost. Western was 0% penalty. Eastern was 20%. Anatolian was 25%. Muslim was 40%. I can't believe I still remember this. I think African was like 150%. And then you had Horde, which was 75%. African may have actually been less. It may have been like 80%, something like that. South American was 150%. Yeah, definitely. And as was Mesoamerican, and North American was the biggest tech penalty at 250%. They still have the icon there. And then Chinese also was one of them, and Chinese was 60%. Then you westernize, and your tech group would just change to Western, and you would have no tech penalty. And that's actually reflected in the color of the gears. So you have like bronze there, and then you've got like silver on Eastern, and then for Western, the gold standard of technology is just the gold gear, and that's the only one with the gold gear. But it also dictated, there's one thing that it actually still dictates, and that is Actually, no, two things. The first thing is your discovery of like what countries you can see at the start of the game. Okay, so the eastern countries can see more of the hordes and everything, whereas the western countries cannot. The Anatolians can see like out in a lot of the Muslim countries, maybe a few of the Indian countries, something like that. And it kind of reflects like the Muslim world or the Christian world and kind of what they can see. But it also determines units. All right, and we're going to actually see that because men-at-arms, we're going to click on that. When you advance in technology, sometimes you get an upgrade of units. Now, I've been doing this, I've done this before in this campaign, but I haven't really explained it very well. And the reason why is that it's kind of difficult to explain, basically. But I'm going to do the best I can. It's quite simply, you click on this when you get an upgrade. See, it says superior unit types. Click on that. And now you've got these three options at tech level 9, okay? You can see these little pips and the different categories. You've got fire, shock, and morale. Basically, the pips and the fire and shock, that is how much damage they will deal in their respective phase versus how much damage they can withstand in that respective phase. The morale is how much morale damage. Okay, so early game, it's very good to have units that can deal a lot of morale damage, or that can withstand a lot of morale damage. That way they can stay in the fight for as long as possible. Whereas later game, as the pips increase much more, it's much more important to have more damage, just flat out damage, to deal more casualties, and less morale damage, because morale is not so important and casualties are much, much more important. So, with that being said, the Reformed Galaglass Infantry, in our case, is quite good, because even though it doesn't have any defensive shock, it's quite good on the offensive morale side. If you want to go a little bit defensive, you could go with the Landsknechten, and that will give you some defensive morale as well as offensive morale, and then just basically just balanced in the shock phase. Whereas it's not as good as the Reformed Galaglass in the offense, but it will be able to withstand more casualties. Do this if you're kind of like a smaller country and you don't have as much manpower to spare. You want to you don't want to. If you can't really take very many casualties, and you want to like go on the defensive, then you might want to choose something like this. The Condata Infantry is not as good in morale, so if you've got a lot of good morale modifiers, perhaps choose this, because it's got the offense of the Reformed Galaglass, plus it's got defense that the Reformed Galaglass does not have, and then it just has decreased offensive morale. Okay. However, actually, we do have a morale modifier. We do have a good morale modifier. So actually, I'm going to go with the Condata. And I never do this. I always go with the Reformed Galaglass because I usually just try to go as offensive as possible. But we do have the plus 15%. You could also modify this further. La Plata. Oh, Portugal is requesting that I share maps with them. I gain 10 prestige. Sure. We could increase this further if we take Defensive Ideas. Defensive Ideas is known for their very powerful second idea, Military Drill, which increases your morale of armies by 15%. If you've got really good damage modifiers, then you could, like, for example, Discipline, with Offensive Ideas, or with the Reconquista, then you could easily take something that does more casualties. But again, early game, it's more important to have morale damage and stuff like that. So we are going to ask for contribution from the burghers. That being said, this is probably going to be my last episode in a while for this series, just because that's pretty much all I have to explain. If you guys would like for me to explain something else, then please feel free to let me know in the comments. Please also feel free, if you're a member of the Discord server, you can let me know there, and I definitely will see that much faster. Okay, good. I actually did send these guys there. They did take a little bit of attrition. And I'm not going to kill them. Because remember, we have the native trading policy, so it's actually more beneficial for us to not kill them. Whereas, if we have the repression policy, then it actually benefits us quite a bit to kill them because we don't get any benefit from keeping them around. We get the base bonus there, but it's not, you know, amazing. I also think my game just crashed. Yes, my game just crashed. Well, anyways, I was going to end the episode about right there. So anyways, if you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to leave a like, subscribe, and join the Discord server because that helps out so much. Thank you so much to Shem for being my Patreon supporter, and if you'd like to be a Patreon supporter to help me get a new computer so I can play a lot more games on this channel, please feel free to click the link down in the description below. That being said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.